Welcome back to the Frizz and the Grease podcast with your hosts, Trudeau and D.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Frizz and the Grizz, it's your boy Trudeau, and with me as always, D Frizzy Frizz himself. What's up, buddy?
What is good, man? Happy Tuesday, bro. Happy Tuesday.
I wish I could crank those air horns a little higher. I only have one behind the scenes one knob on my soundboard for the sound effects. So if I were to crank up the sound horns, you'd just hear blasting in your ear. So
I want to get a soundboard. I need a mixer board at some point, just to revamp the whole stream. I would say outlook outside of this show, like when I do my own shit.
Yeah, and then is it because you don't like the way I'm operating over here? You want control?
No. Again, you got the ones and twos, man. You are the dopest producer that this show has ever had.
The only.
What I would say is, it'd be cool if I had one for I know we talk off air about skits and whatnot. And it's sometimes we take some responsibility off you, bro, because you got to prep a lot of this shit. You got to sync together a whole bunch of tunes and whatnot. But it's if we ever did something that I would host and you would be the person taking the questions, I got to give you the answers to press the buttons, and it's that's not fair.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to get on my level, go for it. I'd happy to have a co-producer on this endeavor.
I'm just the nice face, man. I'm the handsome face and the nice smile.
You're the face. I'm the behind the scenes. I like it. Hey, we got a good show today. Lots of NBA. Round one's in the books. We're just getting into round two. We're going to talk a little bit of C's because God knows what's going on with them. We'll talk a little B's.
Oh, have mercy.
The C's and the B's. A little Boston love today. Also talk Lakers, Warriors, Heat, Knicks, and we have finally the return after 2 months. Really, the Frizz is 5.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a tease for the people what it could be about?
Let's just say there's some people that need to step up. A lot of Carmelo Anthonys in this world, and we need to stop with that because we need people to start winning. We'll keep it at that one.
All right. Before we get on to the sports stuff, man, how was your week?
Week was good. We had a nice little tornado warning, northern North Carolina though, so it really didn't hit us. Just some rain and some wind. But work's been good, man. Like I said, the little one's birthday was a couple weeks ago, so we're still recovering from that. We had a nice little Disney Sunday because of the tornado warning, so we didn't do shit but watch Disney movies all damn day. I had Encanto and what's it called? Moana song stuck in my head. Is so bad.
I was gonna ask you OG Disney or the new Pixar.
Newer. We tried watching Aladdin, and she's seen tigers, she's seen princesses, she's seen dragons, and the very beginning of Lion King when the tiger comes out of the sand. Not that, but no, I was saying Aladdin. My bad. Aladdin. When in Aladdin when the lion is out of the sand, it's just its face. She was terrified with that. And I was like, it's a lion. You watched The Lion King with all these damn lions in it, but you're afraid of the one that's made out of sand.
I get on that Mulan stuff, by the way. I've been telling you about Mulan.
Yeah.
Ignoring me forever on that one. That's a great movie.
I do need to watch that. Yep, that's definitely on the list of watchables. But she's on this huge kick with Encanto and Moana, so I'm not mad because both soundtracks are dope. One of these days we'll compare which soundtrack is better, but I like them both.
Future Frizz is 5. The future Frizz is
hinting.
5. Yeah.
What's yours?
We're a little early today. We're recording early. We're going to be done early. It's going to be an in and out quick one today because your boy has to jump on a bird tomorrow morning. When you think of 8 a.m. flight, you're like, all right, 8 a.m. is not bad. But then you realize that means you have to be at the airport at 6:30, which you start doing the math. What time do I have to get up? So I have to get up 4:50, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, flying off to Las Vegas for the week. So for pleasure, not business. So we're going to have a good time out, me and the missus.
Nice. Congrats. Enjoy that time. So is that, if you're out for the week, does that mean you'll be back for next week?
Bro, Las Vegas, you can't be there for more than 2 or 3 days.
Okay. I mean, hey, I ain't never been, but I've heard, yes, it's one of those you get in and get out because if you don't, you get lost.
If you don't there more than 3 days, you're going to get at least one STD, be in debt $3,000, and maybe stabbed. That's Las Vegas for you.
It definitely sounds like it, especially if you just compare it to the movies. We'll just say that.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun trip for me, but yeah. Gotta get up early tomorrow. I actually gotta finish packing after this podcast, so will probably be a quick one today, but it'll be a good one. A quick one, quickie but a goodie.
I like it.
That's what I tell my wife before bed. little self-deprecation always gets.
Yeah, I like what you did there.
Right, that's how you transition. So the first topic is probably the freshest of our sports topics, right? Because we have a whole week of stuff to cover, and this one was fresh last night. Actually, I would say this goes back almost a week at this point. And the topic are the Celtics in trouble? They were the clear favorites betting wise to actually get out of the East. I think they were actually negative 250, which means like heavy favorites to go to the finals at this point, with the the Heat going out and Embiid status being up in the air.
Hold on. Let me just make sure I get this right. Negative 250, because we're doing bets now. Would that mean you'd have to bet $100 to win 25?
You'd have to bet 250 to win 100.
I was trying to learn. Proceed.
Yeah, it's all good. I appreciate the question. So yeah, heavy favorites. I would say that, not just looking back to last night when they lost to the old, like James Harden went the way back machine, but not just last night, but out of their past 5 games, they've dropped 3 of 5. They lost 2 to the Hawks. They closed out in game 6, and then they lost yesterday. So I don't know, man. It's a small sample size of 5 games. You could say that they were going easy against the Hawks, and they were maybe going easy against Joel Embiid-less 76ers, but they might be in trouble. This favorite might actually have a lot of flaws.
Yeah, and I don't want to just poke the bear, for lack of a better phrase, and say that I think I saw this coming at the beginning of the season when I said if they hit adversity or they just don't play up to their potential, it's going to come down to Mazzulla. And I don't think Mazzulla is getting out what Udoka was able to get out of them last season. There's situations, there's definitely times in games where he's making little to no adjustments, and he's just rolling the ball out there, let the guys play. And that's going to come back and bite them in the ass. And that's what happened with Atlanta, where they were up favorable in that series 3-1, like just close it out. You can't let this team hang around. They did. And to start this series, Joel Embiid was essentially like locked in and not playing like 3 or 4 days before the game started. Like we all knew that he wasn't playing because of the way that their series ended when they beat Brooklyn. And so like you gotta prep your team for that. Hey guys, like we can't play down to the level of our competition. We have to play as if Embiid is out there. He is the MVP. We have to go out there and punch them in the mouth. And what did they do? They went out there and played flat. By flat, I don't think it's possible, and they said this on TNT last night too, for a team to shoot 70% in the first half, which they did yesterday, and
Crazy.
They were winning by 3. There's a huge moment would be coaching at that point, where like, what is going on with one of the better defensive teams like in the NBA, or even better offensively statistic teams, that you are going off on a Embiid-less 76ers and you're up by 3 at half. That's huge.
Yeah, and I was actually trying to, as you ended that, look up the box score, because one thing I found interesting is Al Horford's getting a ton of minutes, and I'm surprised Time Lord's not eating up more minutes. I don't know if they're trying to save his knees or he's not feeling 100%, but they're not the same defensive team they were last year. I will say that they've fallen back. So like just looking at the box score, Horford 30 minutes. That's a lot for Al Horford, and 20 for Rob Williams. So Rob's playing less than half of the minutes in that game. And I know Marcus Smart won Depoy last year. In my opinion, Time Lord was the Depoy. I think Smart got it because there was just a weird push to get Smart that award. I think you touched on an interesting point, right? I think you nailed it on the head. There's not really a sense of urgency with the Celtics teams. They play down to their competition a lot. You would see that in the regular season too. I think they had a huge upset loss at some point to the Rockets. They were like,
they lost to the Thunder that week too.
They lost to the Jazz as well. Like they've lost to some really underperforming teams, and I think they do play down to the level of their competition. You think of the Hawks, they kind of sleptwalked through the most of that series. Without Embiid, they didn't really get up for this game. And I think that does go back to the coach. Mazzulla seems, I mean, I don't know him personally, but he seems like a much nicer, kinder soul compared to Udoka, who was straight up like disciplinary and like, I will punch you in the face.
Straight out of Pop's camp.
Right. And, when the Celtics start to lose focus in times like these, I think Udoka's calling a quick timeout. He has a short leash, and he's like, "We're not doing this." Um, and Mazzulla, he doesn't seem to be that type of guy. He's more of like, "Hey, let's just be efficient numerically, shoot a lot of threes, take smart shots." But like on the defensive side, he's not holding people accountable. And they lost that game to 76ers, obviously, because James Harden had the greatest playoff game of his life, probably. What do you put? 45? I don't remember the exact number.
45.
Okay, so he put up 45. Obviously, a good portion of the why they lost is James Harden going nuclear. But there were plenty of plays where the 76ers got easy buckets. And there's one I can think of in particular where I think it was Paul Reed like split the screen and just had a walk-in like layup or dunk in the basket off of a pass. And it's just blunders like that mentally where they barely lost that game. And if you just sure up a couple of those stupid mistakes, you're winning.
Yeah, so essentially what the Celtics are falling on right now is they are, and I said this deep into the regular season, like far before it even started, that they are going to beat teams because they are far more talented than everyone. They have Jaylen Brown, they have Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart coming off a defensive player of the year. Like Al Horford played his ass off in the finals. Like this is the Grant Williams that like we thought was the corner. Exactly, but I'm saying like they had the better talented team. They picked up Brogdon, so like everybody was just expecting them to win, 50, 60 games. They did, right? Like they're proving it. But when you get to a 7-game series and like now these adjustments need to be made, not even just game to game, they need to be made like possession by possession. And like simple things that I'm blaming both the player and the coach on. In a 1-point game, if James Harden is being covered by Marcus Smart and then a lackadaisical screen comes in to set a screen on Marcus Smart, you can't go over it and then go switch on the pick so that you have Al Horford on James Harden. That again, two people at blame for that. You're reigning, now it's JJJ, but like you're essentially reigning defensive player of the year, switching on the guy that's got 40. You know what I'm saying? Switching off of him.
That last possession, right? You're talking about.
Yeah, like he switched off of him, and then you put 40-year-old old ass Al Horford on him, who like Harden looked at him and was like, "All right, I'm stepping back on him," because he literally can't do anything. He was literally doing an open gym step back three, and Marcus Smart was like, "All right, Al, go ahead and take care of it." So like Mazzulla's got to see that and be like, "You can't allow that to happen," because it happened throughout the whole game for him to go off. And Marcus Smart's got to be the guy. Like I got to be the guy to stop him.
I will say this about James Harden is while he put up 45, he's not the Houston James Harden. He's not really, he's not looking to drive as much anymore, really. It's a lot of jump shots, especially from the 3-point line. I'm trying to think, he took 14 3-point shots last night.
I thought you could say free throws.
Yeah, he's not getting to the line. His free throw numbers have been low all year. 1 rebound. So it's telling me that he's just living at the arc. And maybe the plan was, I mean, I'm not saying this is the plan. You never want to switch Al Horford on Harden, but just to like play devil's advocate, if you fight over that screen, he's going to try to do some dumb bullshit and flail and get a 3-point foul. So maybe they figured he's not going to drive on Al Horford. Al will just be tall and big, make him take a really tough contested 3. I mean, but when he's at 45 points,
yes, that's the problem is everything that you were saying. The disclaimer is that he already had 40.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, which is again a huge problem that they got to fix quick. This is one of the first games, I'm pretty sure this playoff, this 2022-2023 playoff season, where a team led both free throws and points in the paint and lost. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, they outshot them from the line, more attempts and more makes, and they outscored them in the paint, and they still lost. Like that is huge.
Like, you know how Daryl Morey, that he's obviously the president of the 76ers, and there's a big movement to kind of do the Morey ball thing, like play the numbers, right? What's more, like they say layups, 3-point shots. Those are the 2 most efficient shots, and foul shots are the most efficient shots in basketball. And I think the 76ers, they won by 4 points. They just won the numbers game yesterday. Celtics took 26 threes compared to the 76ers 38. So you have 12 more 3-point shots in the 76ers, and 76ers hit 44%. So it's like, yeah, the Celtics probably hit more baskets total, right? But at the same point, the 76ers have what, like 10 more baskets worth 3 more points. It's just, or 1 more point each. It's just going to tilt the numbers in their favor. Either way, like you can't let this depleted team shoot like that. Here's the thing: the whole premise of this talking point is the Celtics in trouble, right? We've talked about the game itself, but like I would say this about the idea: are they in trouble? They're playing problematically, right? Like the way they're playing is not winning basketball. It's not championship level basketball. But I don't think they're in trouble in this series. I don't think they're in trouble in the next series, whether it's the Heat or the Knicks. Because as you said, like they are far and above the most talented team in the NBA as far as like a roster top to bottom. Maybe they don't have the number one guy, but like from top to bottom, from their 1 to 8, collectively super talented. I don't think Embiid's coming back. Like I know he might come back way late in the series. He might be a shell of himself, but I think he had an LCL injury, which someone said that it's an injury that's usually like a 3 to 6 week recovery. So he missed game 1. He was hurt like a week and a half ago, maybe close to 2 weeks this Saturday, right? I'd be surprised if he's there game 2. I'd be like, if he's there, if he misses game 3, I wouldn't be surprised. So it's one of those things where like maybe this injury with Embiid is much worse than we believe. And that's why I say I don't think they're in trouble yet, because they clearly have a talent advantage. James Harden's not going to put up 45 again. Like that can't happen. I mean, we kept saying that about Jimmy Butler, I guess, but I don't think
that's where I was going to go.
Happening here. I have Celtics game 2. They'll take care of business game 2. If there's no Embiid game 3, you win game 3 and you're just back in the driver's seat. So like, I'm not worried if I'm a Celtics fan, but I'm worried about if they keep playing this type of basketball when they get to the finals. If they get to the finals, they're not going to be able to win it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect roll over into it where, again, game by game, they still have the more talented team. It's just how it is on paper, but you also got to play the game. And if they are playing down to the level of their competition, they're not getting ready for it, or they just get out coached. Now, granted, Eric Spoelstra and Miami is a better coaching setup than Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics. So like that team can still get beat by a team that just out coaches them. It's exactly what happened with Steve Kerr and Udoka last season in the finals, where Kerr just out coached, Udoka, put his team and his players in positions they didn't want to be in or accustomed to be in. And it just made it harder for them to play defense, made it harder for them to sub in, because we saw that their bench was a problem in the finals last year. They got those answered, but like you still have to, there's still a bit of X's and O's. There's gamesmanship that needs to be had as a coach. And Mazzulla is like, if there's 8 coaches left, he's ranked like 7th. I'm not even putting him in the top 5 with the teams that are left. I would say he's behind whoever is coaching the Knicks right now, which is Thibodeau. Yeah.
That's probably like just quick rat-tat-tat rankings. I would probably 1 or 2 interchangeable: Steve Kerr, Spoelstra, right?
As the top, yes.
Yeah. The worst is, like, no offense, probably Darvin Ham remaining. Yeah, you disagree?
No, I mean, I won't say.
Well, let's just, I'm going to say,
go ahead.
So I named up those 2. I guess Tibbs, you could take Tibbs, or I really like what the coach of the Nuggets has done, Mike Malone, this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's been coaching the hell out of them in this series. And then I guess I'm then picking between Mazzulla and Monty Williams as like a toss up. So like top 5-ish left.
I say 7, but I feel you.
That's fine. Well, let's transition to a series where coaching couldn't help anyone out. And when I say where coaching couldn't help out, because Milwaukee Bucks, number 1 overall seed in NBA, goes down since we talked last. And I think it's largely to do with Coach Bud just being a doofus. But this is not what this topic is, Coach Bud being a doofus, because We could talk all day about that. It's bigger postseason disappointment because not only did the number one overall lose in the NBA, but in the same playoff cycle, NHL, the greatest, like literally the greatest team of all time. I don't know if you can say that anymore. They had the greatest regular season of all time. We'll say Boston Bruins go down to the 8th seed, Florida Panthers. So the topic we wanted to discuss, and we went back and forth in this on text over the week, is which situation is the biggest disappointment, right? The way the Milwaukee Bucks went out or the way the Florida Panthers went out. I have a different view than you, but go ahead. How do you feel about that?
And this is tough to say because, like, if there were a Boston team that, like, I won't say that I rooted for, but like, if they were on, I'll watch them. You know, I don't care about the Celtics. I don't care about the Red Sox. Y'all know how I feel about the Patriots. But like, the Bruins were like, all right, cool. Like, if I would watch some hockey, I'll watch it. The way that they lost compared to how the Bucks lost by losing their star player for a couple of games, like, you know, the reigning, previously held MVP, finals MVP player, like, he was out for a couple of games. That can draw a huge problem. But the way that the Bruins went out being up 3-1, best hockey team regular season wise in the history of the sport. Not only that, like, knowing the window of players like Krejci, who I've noticed, you know, he came back. I think he was in like the Czech or something like that for a year. When I was up north, he was in the Czech. He wasn't playing, but like, he came back. Bergeron is now, you know, turning 38, 39. Like, they got the dude with the nose, big dude. I mean, little dude, the Mighty Might fighter.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness, you don't follow hockey? Well, oh my god, I wish I had his name, but I got nothing for you now. Probably Brad Marchand. Marchand, he, like, these are guys that are just older, right? So like, you put together this team to try to culminate each other and like get a cup run, and they essentially did what, you know, we said about Golden State, like 73-9 don't mean a thing without a ring. And that's them now, right? Like, they're up there with the Warriors that didn't win, the Patriots that didn't win, the like 95 Mariners that didn't win, like a whole bunch of these.
Because at least the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl. We're talking about the team getting bounced in the first round with the Bruins.
But still, I'm saying this is why it's a bigger disappointment than it is for the Bucks.
Yeah, I think disappointment as far as it's the bigger embarrassment, right? Especially the way they lost, being up 3-1. You know what I mean? Like, they were the greatest regular season team of all time. And they could have been thought of as like that Patriots team, like you said, and to lose in the first round, being up 3-1 is bigger embarrassment. I took a different viewpoint in as far as this conversation and thought of like, what is the bigger, I don't want, like, almost like statistically upset. Like, what's the biggest upset? And I would say the Bucks losing to the Heat was the bigger upset, because we know in basketball, right? Series are there's not a lot of funky stuff usually in the first round between 7-2, 1-8. You know, it's pretty much write them off, like move them on. You know, basketball is good like that. You don't get a lot of weird shit in the first round. Whereas hockey, you know the saying about hockey, man. Playoff hockey is wild.
Yeah.
You know, it's like unpredictable. You get a hot goalie, you can be an 8 seed, make those Stanley Cup Finals. And
the Kings with that dude that like stood on his head. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But that happens.
So I would say, from that viewpoint, is it unfathomable that the Bruins lost to the Panthers? No, because like weird shit happens. The way it happened made it far more embarrassing, being up 3-1. And then furthermore, like just the betting odds on the series, I mean, the Bucks were minus 1,000. You had to bet $1,000 to win 100. The Bruins were minus 300. So even like Vegas and like the bettors saw the Bucks as a huge lock. Like, there's no chance they lose the Heat. So I think that like it's the bigger upset. But yeah, as far as like being embarrassing, oh man, the way the Bruins went out. Although, to be fair, let me ask you this. Is it more embarrassing to be up 3-1 and lose in 7, or to not even win those 3 games and lose in 5 as the 1 seed?
That's the that's a tough pill to swallow
Either
because
way, it's a tough one.
yeah, what was it that I said? Remember during college
Yeah.
football, like, would you rather lose?
I think you were talking about college basketball. Would you rather
That's what it was.
be the person to lose the game getting the shot on you and the guy drains it? Or would you rather be the guy trying to put your team up and then just completely missing the shot and not bringing them back?
Yeah, like it's both. It sucks both. I don't even want to finish that statement, but yes, it's terrible for both
Yeah.
sides of the coin. But essentially, I think you're spot on with the way that like Vegas hit it with the Bucks. What I would counter to that would be like, what were the odds when Giannis got hurt? Like when he landed on the ground, like how
Yeah.
much did it dip? Because
Let me
I
tell you
think
this.
that's a huge factor in how hot Jimmy got and how we thought Giannis would be able to come back and like they'd recover, but like it was too late.
Going into game 5, when the Heat were up 3-1, the Heat were only slight favorites in that series. So like the bettors and the money thought that the Bucks still had
Gonna come
a
back.
shot at coming back. Like they weren't a lock, but they thought like they had a decent shot at coming back.
We said it here. We said that they would come back. At least I know I did. I said I think the Bucks are
I-
gonna come back in this series.
I thought they would at least win game 5 and then it would be a hell fight in Miami in game 6. It's just like, dude, Coach Bud is a doofus. There were so many like tactical errors that people watching at home could just point out. He let Grayson Allen dribble out the clock at the end of the game and did not
Call a timeout.
doesn't call timeout there. He pulls out Brooke Lopez, their best defender, the runner-up for Depoy at the last possession of the game with Jimmy Butler.
Pushed off.
Yeah, it gets to overtime. Then there was like plenty of other tactical things. He's just a doofus, and God, I hate him. And the reason why I hate him is so we're talking about this conversation is funny. I had a 4-leg parlay worth a lot of money.
You gotta relate it to betting. Go ahead.
I had Celtics, 76ers advance, no problem. I also had the Bucks and the Bruins. They were all like locks. Yeah, so like for me, I understand that playoff hockey is weird, and I'll forgive the Bruins for their collapse, even though there's no you can forgive them, right? But there's no excuses for how they collapsed. But I understand it's hockey and weird shit happens, especially when it's 4 total points, 3 total points. Something gets bounced a weird way, and you could lose a game. Basketball, with the amount of scoring and the amount of possessions, you can have some errors here or there. To just consistently make mistakes for the Bucks and not adjust, like there's just no excusing that. And I'm telling you, I said it on the podcast last time we met. If the Bucks lose, Coach Bud needs to be fired. That was before Game 5. People all around me are like, this dude needs to get fired. Like he's no. So like I said it earlier, and it's still true now. This dude's terrible. He got a pass when they won the championship. Get rid of him. They're fucked going forward, by the way, too, because they have a lot of aging guys and not a lot of cap flexibility. I don't know how we got into a Bucks rant. They're all disappointment though. Bucks, Bruins.
Just tough. They're just tough. I mean, last point for me at least is, again, I think the reason why I chose the Bruins is just because of the window itself. I think the Bucks still have Giannis, and even cap wise, like you say that, but like we look at what Jimmy's doing. And Giannis isn't going anywhere. He's staying in Milwaukee. He's going to be a lifer. But we've seen people carry someone. We've seen people carry a team in the NBA. It's harder to do that in hockey. One person really doesn't, unfortunately, bring a team to a championship. If that were the case, Wayne Gretzky would have had 20 Stanley Cups. But it's just tough because like that team will most likely not be together again because of the way that they went out, that's why I think it's disappointing, because like I don't think they're going to play. Again, I don't follow hockey. So for the fanatics that do, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 aging superstars, one that came back from international play, and then Brad Marchand, who's also up there in age. You got your younger players, but I just don't see, Pasta and Coyle leading the team if those 3 are essentially done.
I will say this on the Giannis front, and I'll do my best.
Go ahead, bro.
He has 2 years left. I believe he's extension eligible this summer. After what happened this postseason, he has zero incentive to sign an extension, especially with the CBA being done and the money going up. He will probably not sign this year, which means he'll be on a 1-year deal the following year. And if they have another disappointment in 2024-25 season, he has no reason to stay at this point, especially if his co-stars are Chris Middleton, who's a shell of himself, and Drew Holiday, who'll be,
33, 34.
Yeah, like low cap flexibility. Brooke Lopez is 34 as well. This could be the time where he bounces. And let me ask you this: why is that the Bucks owner, the majority owner, sold his share of the team right before this postseason?
You would know some weird shit like that.
If you thought that your team would be prominent for many, many years, why not just hold it? Why not hold your stake? Are you selling high? Possibly. Just saying.
Of course.
All right, we're bringing it back, man. It's been a long time coming. The Frizzes 5 is back after a month, 2-month hiatus.
Prepare yourselves for the greatest and most unique segment in podcast history. Let's rank some stuff with D. It's time for Frizzes 5.
Feels good.
We are back, baby.
Yeah, I haven't done one of those in a very long time. That felt good. I think I might have hurt myself doing it though.
That shit slaps. So we have a pretty topical Frizzes 5. I did not make my list yet. I will make my list as you go through your list. But D, tell the people what you are ranking and I am ranking today.
Yeah, so essentially I hinted earlier today, not as much emotion behind this because I think this is more just like a talking type of rank compared to like the enthusiastic yelling matches that we get in. But I'm going to rank, the top 5 players that are in desperate need of winning a championship this season for the NBA. So essentially the playoffs right now that we're in.
All right, this should be interesting. So top 5. So it's only, before I make my list, it's only teams and players that are currently active in the playoffs. Okay, yep. So that's 8 teams. What's the Suns players, Nuggets players, Lakers players, Warriors, Celtics. Who are the Celtics playing? The
Celtics playing the 76ers. The Heat.
All right, I think that's easy. I will compile my list. You go with your number 5. I will jump in after you. D, who is your number 5?
Yeah, to start it off, again, the comparison when it comes to the whole Carmelo Anthony, and I know that he went off, but you put yourself up there with MVPs, you put yourself up there with an MVP for the season that we're in. I'm going to go with James Harden.
Okay, I think it's kind of low for James Harden, but okay, explain your case on that one.
Yeah, reason being is, we all know that based off of what he did when he was in Houston, like he was essentially a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? And he was leading the league in assists. He was leading the league in scoring. He was winning MVPs. He was getting his team to the Western Conference Finals, and that was it, right? And then, at least for myself, questioning, like, does this style of play, this one-on-one ISO ball, is it ever going to translate into getting to the championship, getting to the finals, and winning one? And then he took a back seat, right? Like he had the whole blowout in Brooklyn. That didn't work out. And now he has his second stint in not second, but essentially second coming of a player in Philly, where he's still second fiddle to Embiid. It's Embiid's team. And it's like he's getting into that area where, like, look, man, like your age is getting up there. Like, you're going to retire as one of those players that just dominated with statistic categories and like being really well-rounded as a player, had a good stint for 4 or 5 years of MVPs and in a ton of limelight, and then fizzle out. You know what I mean? Like this is important for him. I think he said something yesterday in an interview that made me be like, look, that's the James Harden I wanted to hear in Houston, where he's just like, yo, it's one game. Stop flipping out. It's one game. Like, we need to get back and get ready for game 2. And it's like, why weren't you like this in Houston? You know what I mean? But, like, yeah, man, if I could do it this game, I could do it the next game. So, again, number 5 for me is Harden.
Solid. Belongs on the list. Number 4.
Yeah, just because when you win awards, right, you get up there for how important you are to your team, how important you are to the league. And it's the era of the big man. So I'm going with number 4 being Joel Embiid now.
Joel Embiid is not on my top 5. I would just say, I know that it's important for him to win. He just got MVP.
Mhm.
I'm going to give him a little bit of pass because I think every postseason failure for him has not been because of his lack of skill or effort. It's just always hurt. And like, I'm not going to ding him for that.
That's what I am going to, because unfortunately the best ability is availability. And we keep talking about trusting the process, right? Like we have been trusting this process for now 6-7 years. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I think he has the skills to be one of the one of the best big men that have ever played the game. Low post game, defense, 3-point shot if it's needed, passing ability, is pretty decent. If he goes down as like a player that just keeps getting hurt in key games, key series, who do we have to stress about when it comes to that on the other side? It's Chris Paul. Chris Paul always finds a way to get himself hurt in the playoffs and then not perform, which makes him come up short for a championship.
Okay. Number 3.
Number 3, and I mean, I know y'all ain't gonna like it, but if he's one of them ones, if he's gonna be considered an all NBA player, a 1A player, he needs to perform like one. That's Jason Tatum.
A little high. He's what, 24 years old, 25? I don't know his exact age, but he's young.
Yep.
So you're saying he is the third player, like the third player in this playoffs who third most needs to win a championship?
Yes, I think so, because of the window in Boston. Not only that, but what has happened over the last 5 seasons? Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, Finals. Now where we're at. When is that next step going to happen? When he got to the NBA Finals, not going to say he was a shell of himself. I think the light might have been just a little too bright for the stars that were in Boston. I think Jaylen Brown outplayed him in the finals last year. But like, we need to see that next step from Jason Tatum. And I've said it for a while. It sucks because he got drafted after, Lonzo Ball. So like, I'm going to always give him a hard time that the Lakers blew the pick and they picked Ball over Tatum. And I think if he's going to be one of those guys that we solidify as an all NBA player, we need to get something out of him to perform in the finals, and he's got to get himself a championship.
So I assume that you don't have Jaylen Brown on your list.
I don't know.
Okay, so why does Jaylen Brown get a pass? Because he's been there longer and he's just as important as a co-star of this team.
I have always been a Brown over Tatum player, but the world has been given to Tatum. He was named their best player because he was the higher draft pick, essentially. He was given the all-star selections because he was the higher draft pick. Mm-hmm. He has scored a little bit more. He's been given the all NBAs when Jaylen Brown deserved
pick.
What's up?
I believe
I thought Jaylen was 4, so I apologize if
I might be wrong. I'll double check, but I believe they're both 3.
Even if that's the case, it's just we saw a weird transition of it being Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to it being Jason Tatum is the 1. And I don't really care for that. But since the media is going to do that, he was 3. Since the media was going to do that, more importantly, like we do that as a society, like how many years did we say he's only 19, right? Dude was like 22, like, but he's only 19, because we were saying how talented and how gifted he was. I hope, again, I call this the Carmelo Anthony, ranking system. I don't want to see these types of players that put up these ungodly numbers and then it translates to absolutely nothing. We're going on year 5 of Eastern Conference Finals or final. You got to perform, like you got to get a championship because that window is going to close.
All right, number 2,
and this one was toss up. It was a hard one to choose between 2 and 1, but number 2, I'm going with Kevin Durant. Reason being, you got yourself a championship, got yourself a couple of championships and a couple of NBA Finals MVPs with Steph Curry. We've seen Steph Curry win a championship without Durant, but it has not been the same for him. He's got a chance to carry a team, and he's down 0-2 to the Nuggets. Granted, you lost Chris Paul. We said that the Suns were going to have a problem if they come across a team that has depth, and it's showing. But Kevin Durant and that size 12 boot cost them a trip to the finals last year, and he's down 0-2 this year. Kevin Durant, I'm telling you, even with those 2 championships in Golden State, his legacy is like going to be questioned if he unfortunately can't get it done without Steph Curry and them boys in Golden State.
I will say this as a counter, because you have him at 2. I have him lower. I have him on my list, but it's lower.
Mm-hmm.
even if KD wins this year, people are still going to throw an asterisk on it and say, well, you had to join Booker. You
A
had to.
40-year-old CP3.
My point is, like, people will still not give him credit. If he stayed with the Nets and he won with the Nets, then yeah, he would be recognized as doing it, like, quote unquote, doing it by yourself. But I guarantee you, if the Suns win it this year, KD is still not going to get his flowers. People are still going to find a way to hate on that and throw an asterisk on this championship.
Rightfully so, man. I mean, he couldn't get it done in OKC. He couldn't get it. He needed, Golden State. Couldn't get it done in Brooklyn, and now he's in Phoenix. Like I said, this is a really important. He's got to do something.
All right, let's hit it.
I love that we have switched the league to being the era of the big man, but unfortunately, you are the Russell Westbrook and the James Harden as a 7-footer, Nikola Jokic.
I will say before you go, I have a top 5. Jokic is also my number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I think I love his game, man. Like, it's incredible to be a 7-footer, 230 pounds, 250 pounds, probably, second round draft pick. Nobody was expecting him to be this, right? He will go down as one of the better international players that have ever played this game if he continues what he's doing. But you cannot, I repeat, you cannot keep doing the Russell Westbrook and the James Harden, put up all of these numbers, and it does not translate into a championship because we scrutinized and we crucified Russie in OKC when he was doing it. We have scrutinized and crucified James Harden when he was in Houston. I'm sorry, Jokic, but you are going to get the same thing because you were back-to-back MVP in the running for your 3rd straight MVP. You have had the number 1 seed. What's up?
It was announced today that Embiid.
Yeah, no, Embiid won it. I'm saying he was in the running. He was like either number 2 or 3. You've had the number 1 seed multiple seasons. I don't care if it's the bubble or not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I don't remember the bubble seeding, but okay.
Gotcha. So, what I'm saying is their team has been up there year after year and have fallen flat on their face. And I'm not saying it's because of Jokic, but again, this is an individual list. This is an individual championship award that I'm thinking of. He's got to be the guy that gets it done, because if he doesn't, again, he's going to get knocked down notches because of what we did with Russell Westbrook and James Harden.
Yeah, I mean, I had Jokic number 1 because I don't think he deserves the criticism, but the criticism is that, hey man, you got these 2 MVPs. What have you done in the postseason, right? Mm-hmm. And looking at what happened in previous years, it's because the cast has been, the supporting cast that is, just been a complete disaster with injuries, and he's been like a one-man band. I also think that this year it's the most important for him. Like, you have to have it this year because this is his best shot. I don't think they're going to get an opportunity like this again, being the 1 seed and being currently up 2-0, right? So for me, what the criticisms are, right? He's an, quote unquote, empty calorie guy with the stats, and it's not amounting to winning. This is your chance to silence the critics. This is your best chance as well. So yeah, it has to happen for him this year for sure. And that's why I had him number 1 as well, which is weird because did you have CP3 on your list?
I didn't.
That's weird because everyone just hates on him because he's never won a championship and he's supposed to be the point guard top.
I just think he's never going to win one. I don't.
So you just wrote him off the list.
Yeah, I've this injury that he has right now. I think his career is done when it comes to potentially, like, if he wins a championship, it's because he's on the team that won a championship, not because of him. So I don't think it's justifiable.
So I have, let's see, I have some crossover. 3 of my 5 are the same as yours. Number 5, I don't have Tatum on my list. I just think he's too young. He'll have the opportunities. You're going to be probably perplexed by this one and disagree. My number 5 is LeBron James.
No, I found it hard to put myself. It was hard for me to not put him in the list. We'll say that because of what surrounds his legacy behind it.
Well, the reason I had him as 5 is that as of today, he only has that 1 bubble championship, and people are going to, first of all, put an asterisk and call it the LeMickey championship, whatever. But what they had to do with the Lakers to give up and create this LeBron AD centered team, and whether you admit it or not, like LeBron's been kind of the shadow GM and pulling the strings, of what he wants. If they only win one championship and end up by not getting out of the first round the rest of the way, I mean, they have this time. But my point is, like, if they don't get out of this round against the Warriors, right? Do we look at that LeBron idea? No, you got a championship out of it, but do we look at it as a failure for what we thought could it have been? So that's why I had him on the at 5. Like, I think he's still fine. I don't think the pressure is super high because they are the 7 seed, but as a totality, the experience, LeBron AD Laker experience, you'd want to see more. And if they could win a championship this year, you can't say shit. Like, it's been a complete success, regardless of whatever happened else around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like I said, I can agree with you. I'm not gonna agree with you with the disappointment part, but I can agree with you with if he wins, everybody's got to shut the hell up about him.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be happy as a Laker fan regardless because you got that one ring. Like, you had that year, and it was fun. And then my only other difference, I KD 4, so I had him slightly lower. Harden at 3, slightly higher because of the criticism of him never winning a championship and being lazy and kind of fizzling out in the postseason in the past. So it's important for him. CP3, I had him at 2 because that's just the knock on him. If he wins a championship, there's nothing you can say about CP3. Like, he's legit one of the greatest players of all time, potentially the greatest point guard of all time. And the only thing he's missing, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying he absolutely is, but he's up there as one of the greatest point guards of all time. The only knock is he's never won a ring. And if he can get that ring, regardless of if he's the 4th option, it's still a ring and people can't say shit.
Yeah, I feel like if he wins a championship, he's essentially Karl Malone going to the Lakers. Like, I just it's a moot point. His career is already set. We know he's making the Hall of Fame. I don't think a championship elevates him to a certain standard. You said something that like raised my eyebrow because I know Stephen A said it, and I'm I might start to agree with them. People are starting to say Stephen Curry is one of the greatest point guards of all time, and then somebody replied by saying remove point guard. And I think that's a fair assessment where
he's probably a top 7 player of all, like top 7 player of all time.
I think he is better. I think this is when we go down a really, really dark wormhole with the difference between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Follow me with this. Chris Paul is Peyton Manning and Steph Curry would be Tom Brady. Chris Paul plays the quarterback position as point guard better than Steph Curry, but Steph Curry does way more to get his team to win and for him to show individual stats. I think there's a difference. I think that's how I would compare the two, where Chris Paul is the traditional point guard, which is why we called him the point god for pretty much his entire career. Always looking for the assist, always looking for the best play, always finding like his shot. And then you have the redefining player that has changed the game with 3-point shots, winning championships, and winning finals, winning MVPs, stuff that Chris Paul hasn't done. So how can we call one of them the point god, but not the other? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'm not going to like argue on that.
I wasn't expecting you to.
I understand like where you're coming from. Like, one plays the position the way you traditionally think of a point guard. I would actually say, like, on the Peyton Manning thing, I've heard a lot of chatter like post career, many years post career. Like, Peyton Manning wasn't as good as people really wanted to give him credit for, and I'm saying it because of this. Like, they thought he was like an offensive genius and whatever. Apparently, like their offense was very, very basic. Like, Peyton liked 12 plays. Like, he had these 12 bread and butter plays, and apparently defenses, especially New England defenses, kind of like would be able to figure out exactly what he likes to do when. And he had a lot of, I don't want to say tells, but there were certain like situations where like you could be like, oh, we kind of know how to disguise it to make Peyton like want to do a certain play. And we know he likes this play a lot, and he would get himself in trouble. Remember the Saints?
Yes.
It's like that's you can kind of bait Peyton every once in a while into throwing something that he doesn't expect. Whereas Tom Brady is more natural, where like he's going to go with the flow of the offense. He'll call an audible, but like he's not going to target on a certain couple plays.
I can't get this thought out of my head. Oh, there's a small playbook you got there, coach. Run the same trap every time. Like with Novocaine, give it time, it always works. I can't get Coach Boone out of my head. When he started saying that, I was just like, run the same trap every time. Run it like Novocaine. Give it time, always works.
What movie is that? I have no idea, to be
Remember
honest.
the Titans.
Okay.
Coach Boone, baby.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I watched Remember the Titans. I thought we were talking about Friday Night Lights at first. So I was thinking Movie Miles.
No. Coach Boone.
He can run. He can pass.
And he can pass.
That's my guy. That's my guy. Let's quickly just rat-tat-tat, like a few minutes each. Lakers, Warriors, and then Heat next. Then we can get out of here. Obviously, you're very interested in this series. I'm interested to see how this goes. My first inclination is that Warriors will win this series. I think it'll be a long series. I don't think it's not going to be Warriors in 5. It'll probably go to 7. I think the biggest differentiating factor is that somehow the 6 seed Warriors is hosting a playoff series in round 2. They have the greatest shooting team of all time. It's going to come down to who is AD in this series.
Yes.
Right. And that's going to be a lot on the matchup between AD and Kevon Looney. So, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. As a Lakers fan, I don't know how comfortable you feel, how confident you feel in seeing what the Warriors and Sacramento Kings battle was like. Do you feel like you're going to have success against this Warriors team, or do you think that there are some weaknesses that the Lakers have that the Warriors can expose?
Not fully confident at all. And that's not even that's just being a realist. The series goes as KD goes. I think we saw LeBron give any and everything he could to get out of the first round last round. And they wanted to beat the Grizzlies. They did, right? Like they beat the younger team. This is more experienced team, and an experienced team that comes with a lot of, I'd say, heavy hitters at specific positions. You got Steph Curry, obviously, like that's the number one. Clay is starting to become Clay. Draymond is always going to be Draymond. Looney, I think, is a huge problem for the Lakers right now, because he's essentially like remember Nene, how Nene used to be, and like the old school Kenneth Faried. That's Looney right now. He's the guy that he's going to relentlessly go for the rebound.
I would say this on Looney, to disagree with you. Rebounding, he's fantastic, right?
That's what I just said.
But he has way more skills than rebounding. He's become a very, very, I'm not going to say great passer, but a good passing big, which is way more than what a Nene, or I don't know who the other comparison.
Kenneth Faried.
Right.
Fair point. The only reason why I compared them to those two is because of where his positioning is going to be, which is what I meant for AD. It's going to be on the block. Mm-hmm. That's where AD gets injured. That's where he gets, bullied when other people are putting him on the low post, or he has to go on the low post on offense, right? That's where we see a lot of his, like, don't jump like that. So because Looney's that type of player, that's what I'm saying. He's going to put him in positions that he probably doesn't want to be in. And I don't want an injury to change the series, but like it's going to hinge on AD's health. I think Austin Reeves is a great 3 threat for the Lakers. I think Rui played his. What's up?
Do you remember when people like clown the Lakers at the idea that they wouldn't trade Austin Reeves, and we're like, you won't trade Austin Reeves to get Kyrie Irving? Are you stupid? It's Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves since then has been balling.
Absolutely balling. Like got himself the bag, got himself a shoe deal in China. Like the AR-15, man. Good. I'm glad for him. Happy for him. He's the third fiddle, right? I think he's decent. I'm not saying he's like the third strongest player on the team, but like he's a decent, we looked at it. He's going to get to 12 and 3 threes. And that's not bad, right? Because D'Angelo Russell is very inconsistent. Granted, he had a hell of a game 6. I don't expect that from him every single game, especially if he has to chase around Clay and Steph.
I'm curious, who do you think is going to guard Steph Curry? Like, who do you think? Yeah,
I think they got to insert him into the starting lineup, and you have to have him run around, unfortunately.
I've heard a couple of theories from like Zach Lowe, potentially like maybe throw Austin Reeves at him, or even if you want to get cute, maybe try Vanderbilt. I think Schroeder's going to get eaten alive in that match.
He will. He's going to. That thing is, it's pick your poison. Do you sacrifice an Austin Reeves or a Vanderbilt to play against Steph Curry, knowing you're going to lose that matchup anyway, and then make it harder for them on offense? Or do you sacrifice a player that's really not an offensive threat unless he's like in rhythm, which is Dennis Schroeder? Let Schroeder just run around, use his athleticism to try to slow him down. Not saying you're going to stop Steph Curry, but you could try to slow him down. And then you could save Reeves and Vanderbilt and Rui and D'Lo for offense, because like they're not going to be able to do both, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm curious on the approach for the Lakers. I know we're saying like, oh, it has to be a big AD series. I actually think their offense will probably be very similar to how they've used LeBron against Steph Curry in the past, kind of to hunt Steph Curry and try to force those matchups where he can just kind of back down and bully Steph Curry. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried that to like just hunt Steph Curry in every possession, but it should be an interesting series. Definitely going to be a long one. We'll have more to talk about it afterwards because we haven't played a single game yet. I think, what is it? Is Wednesday the first game?
Tonight.
Oh, it's tonight? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's after the Heat and Knicks. And speaking of Heat Knicks, which is the last one we just want to quickly touch on. I still think this, I don't know what the score is right now. I have to check.
Heat
I
by
think
6.
Jesus Christ. What is going on? The Knicks are trash too. Listen.
So hold on a second. We have gone like 6 straight weeks of you just calling the Heat bad. Then when they win, you say the team that they're playing is bad. Like, just get like at least admit that they are the team that I said at the beginning of the playoffs you just don't want to have to fuck with, because they are an annoying team that it's just there, and they are still there 2 weeks into the playoffs.
They beat the Bucks because a myriad of things broke their way. They shot like 70% from 3. Giannis got hurt, and then Budenholzer, as we covered earlier, is a doofus. Those factors absolutely propelled them over the Bucks.
But they're still here.
And then they're playing the Knicks, who nobody believes in the Knicks. The Knicks scored, I think, like 50 points a game last series. If the Miami Heat ends up by winning this series, it's because they are just breaking so lucky. If it happens,
the 8th seed is getting the best line matchups. Yeah, that makes sense. Just come on, man. Come on.
Just the way it's broken for them has been fantastic. If for some godforsaken reason they make it to play the Celtics or the 76ers in the final Eastern Conference Finals, I'm taking whoever it is versus the Heat in 4. That's how I feel about the
Doug,
Heat.
you are. I can't even throw the hater word. You're just disrespectful to the Heat, man. Disrespectful. But again, the quick
outside of these 6 games or whatever they played, we're game 7 of their playoff run. What has made you feel like they're a good team? From what you've seen in a full sample size of 82 in the regular season, and from the play-in tournament where they lost to the shitty-ass Hawks and barely beat the Bulls. Like, everything before the start of this playoffs have told you that Heat are bad.
Yes.
So you're just going to throw that all out the door now that we're 7 games away from that?
Jimmy Butler, defense, and coaching. How what's a recipe for success in the NBA Finals? Get a hot player, have a great defense, and then coach in the big moments. They have that going for them right now. Granted, Jimmy Butler's not playing, so like I can't speak for game 2 as to what the deal is. I see Max Strus and Bam and Cam Martin.
I gotta stop you on this. Okay?
What?
You keep doing it every week. It's Max Strus.
Yeah, it's definitely Strus. You're right. But I'm okay. I'm gonna say Strus. Sorry, I'm not sorry for that. I think they say Strus on 2K, and that's the reason why it messes me up. I think so. But I digress. Again, if they keep winning, man, we gotta respect them the same way that I said that about Philly in the regular season, and you kept saying trash about Jalen Hurts. It's like you gotta give them respect if they're winning, man. Like they're figuring a way to win, even if it's not a pretty way to win. You don't win pretty in the playoffs. You just win, and that's all that matters.
The Eagles were good for 17 games in the regular season, right? Which is the entirety.
But it took you 12 weeks to realize that.
Okay, and we've had a full sample size of the Heat being bad, and they're good for like 9% of that. And you're like, they're the champs, crown them.
I didn't say that. I just said they're an 8th seed. That at the beginning of the play-in, I said you just don't want to have to deal with them because they're going to leave you bloodied and beaten, and that's what they're doing to teams. They're making them pissed by beating them down.
Last thing before we get out of here with the closing takes, We're gonna find out. I don't know if they end up by winning game 2, but at some point with this Heat team, we're gonna find out.
But they are who we thought they were.
Guaranteed. All right, man. It's. I think we had closing takes last week. I enjoy this segment mostly because it just gets me hype. You ready?
Absolutely.
The show is coming to an end. But first, it's time to get to anything we've missed. It's closing time. 1 segment, 2 takes. Now go.
All right, closing takes. Get a chance to get off anything from your chest that we haven't covered. Doesn't have to be in sports world, whatever you want. D, you start us off.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go the wide world of sports for women's basketball. We talked about it, when the Final Four happened, and like how much media play a lot of the LSU players received, a lot of the Iowa players and whatnot because of what was happening. But I'm gonna go a route with the WNBA and the Las Vegas Aces. For the first time in WNBA history, a professional women's team has their own training facility. It looks dope. I was able to watch it on Instagram, see that they have full-blown facilities, state-of-the-art pool, state-of-the-art, the 4 basketball gym setup that NBA teams have. Granted, they don't have private jets. They're still flying public transportation when it comes to, or coach, whatever you want to call it, for flights. It's tough because we're in a society, and I won't go too much of a, in the pissed off route that I normally would, but we're in a society right now where something like this happens, and instead of promoting it and congratulating these women for finally getting stuff like this,
haters.
we got people in the background oh, it must be the NBA funding it. It's like we gotta. When are we gonna get past that?
You know who owns them, by the way?
Ooh,
Mark Davis, I believe.
Good. Hey man, just win, baby, win. R.I.P. for his pops. But I'm proud of that, right? This is.
I'll double check that. I might be wrong.
Oh well, hey, if it's not, if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. But this is something to be proud of. You know what I mean? I want to see the growth of the sport. I talked about it already. A couple weeks ago when we were doing the March Madness tournament. I'm gonna be a fan. It is Mark Davis. Good. I'm going to be a fan of women's basketball for a very long time. I got 2 girls. So I want that sport to grow into something that is going to be great to watch. We'll see if it does. And I think this is a step in the right direction. When the, who was it? The first NBA team that got a private jet, and they went on and won the finals that year because they were the only team flying private compared to coach.
I didn't know where I was going to go with the closing takes until you mentioned your topic. And it jogged my memory on a story from this week. I don't have much on it, but I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting nugget. Did you see who the Toronto Raptors interviewed this past week for their head coaching vacancy?
Sure did, Mr. Ime Udoka.
Well, you were 3 weeks in the past, man. Udoka is the coach of the Houston Rockets now.
Yeah, my bad. Way off. Yep, go ahead.
They did interview Udoka 2 weeks ago. No. They interviewed the current head coach of the Las Vegas Aces.
I did hear about this. Brianna, not Stewart. Sorry, the chick that used to play to coach with Coach Pop.
Yes, Becky Hammon.
Mm-hmm.
She left Coach Pop, became head coach of the Vegas Aces. She got GM power and coaching power. They won the championship last year with her as the first-year head coach there. Clearly knows what she's doing. We have yet to see in professional sports in general in the North America a female coach for a men's team. And if there's going to be one to break the barrier, it seems like she's the one. I don't know if it's going to happen.
I thought she turned it down.
I'll have to double check that, but I think she downplayed it. It's basically she interviewed. She doesn't want her team to be distracted going to the season. But this is not the first time she's gotten an interview. It feels like at some point someone might give her a gig, man. She's been successful at the NBA level as far as being assistant coach. She won a title with the women's game her first year. She obviously knows basketball. She was a great WNBA player. So we're heading there, I think.
Yeah, I like it, man. I think it's great for both game WNBA and for the NBA if something like this happens. Granted, you're still gonna have the trolls that are out there, but I'm all for it.
God, man, if it happens, it's going to be just a shit throwing fiasco on the internet, which is why I try to stay off the internet. It's a horrible place, horrible place.
Except for when you're watching the Frizz and the Grizz podcast, baby.
Absolutely. All right, D. Good show today. It was kind of quick. Actually, it was pretty long considering I was trying to be quick about it. Maybe next week we'll have a little more fun, a little less sportsy. We'll see. We're supposed to do a serial draft this week. Did not happen, but it is what it is.
Blame the viewers. No, I'm joking.
Blame the viewers. All right, D. Get us out of here, right?
As we say every time we're heading out of here, please, y'all hit us up on all of our socials. Hit us up on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Twitch. Follow your boy DFrizzy_Frizz5 on his personal Twitch if you ever want to talk about some GBA basketball, 2K, any of those video games that you like to play. But as we say when we're heading out, go ahead. What's up?
Will it soon be the home of the exclusive 2K franchise mode or not?
I mean, yeah, man, I might stream a couple of those games. We'll fill you guys in at a later date. But as we say, when we heading out of here, please, y'all take care of y'all mentals. Y'all take care of y'all physicals. Make sure y'all take care of y'all chicken, y'all children. Be safe out there. We love y'all. Peace.
And if you don't see me next week, your boy died in Vegas.